Alright guys, welcome back to a brand new video, and this is an extremely special video because you guys have been asking for the Road to Success series for months and months and months. If this is the place that you guys want to be, this is the entire New York City skyline that you see right behind me. This entire series is going to be for you. Over the next few months, we are going to cover colleges one by one, prestigious colleges, mid-tier universities, and all of the popular colleges in the US, how international students can apply for them. More importantly, what a student needs to do in order to get up to 100% scholarship, different types of financial aid. I'm going to take you through the entire process. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. And we are starting off strong today with episode number 0, in which I'm going to break down the entire scholarship process so that you guys can understand what the different types of scholarships and financial aids are before we jump into individual colleges. And the reason behind that is there's a lot of misunderstanding that goes behind in students trying to understand how the scholarship process actually works. And a big disclaimer is that just by applying to colleges in the US, you don't automatically get considered for scholarships. You have to apply separately, intentionally, through a separate application process. So with that, in this video, we're going to look at the different types of scholarships that are available and how exactly you can maximize your chances and what are some of the common myths behind these scholarships and financial aid. So the first one in our list is the merit-based scholarship. This is one of the most popular scholarships, and I feel that if you are a good student academically and you have a very good overall profile, this is like going to be a piece of cake for you guys. So in kind of like a nutshell, there's no specific criteria in order to receive this scholarship. It's the same process for all of the colleges that you apply to. And the big thing is, this type of scholarship largely depends on how you perform as a student. In short, if you have good grades and you're in good academic standing, you have a very, very high percentage of getting this scholarship. That means that if you're in the top of your class, you're performing well academically, you're performing well in college year after year, this scholarship can then also be renewed. And what exactly I mean by like good grades is that in high school, you can say above 95% is a good achievable grade to have, be in a good academic standing. SAT score of above 1550, a GRE score of above 325 is really good. And for graduate students, if you have an overall undergrad GPA of more than 90%, that is good standing. And in general, the steps that you need to take before you get admitted are be aware of the deadline that colleges have to be considered for merit-based scholarship. This means that sometimes there may be 2 different deadlines. In most cases, there may just be 1, but in some cases, there may be an earlier deadline in order to be considered for the merit-based scholarship. So be aware of this deadline. There is no separate application for most colleges, like I mentioned, so it's a piece of cake. And lastly, the scholarship amount will be mentioned in your offer letter. So you need to be careful and read that offer letter, make sure that it's mentioned. Now, after you receive this aid, after you receive the admit, moreover, you need to understand that this scholarship isn't like one scholarship that you got for all 4 years of your undergraduate degree. It is renewed year after year. Since it's merit-based, it means that you have to keep your performance up as a student in order to renew this scholarship. A good example is, let's say you scored like a 96% and got the merit-based scholarship for first year of undergrad, and then in the first year of undergrad you didn't do so well, you got a couple B's and C's in your some of your courses. This scholarship can just be taken away. You could maybe not get this scholarship for the second year. So you need to continuously maintain your grades in order to keep this scholarship on your profile. Lastly, the name of this scholarship can differ for each college, but in general, if you don't get the scholarship for the first year, that doesn't mean you won't get it for any year. The cool thing about a merit-based scholarship is that, let's say after entering college, you start doing well as a student in college, you can then be eligible to get this scholarship from the second year onwards. This can be known as something called the Dean's List, it can be called the Presidential Scholarship, or they may just simply count you in the top 5% of your class. The next one on our list is the need-based financial aid. Now, this is everybody's favorite because this is essentially how you get that 100% scholarship. And a lot of students and parents have a misunderstanding. Let me clear like the air once and for all. The need-based aid is dependent on both things: your parents' affordability, how much their household income is, and how much they can afford your tuition, and your standing as a student. So both of these combined is what colleges look at. Now, diving a little bit into the types of aid there are and what exactly you need to do in order to get it. Now, this type of aid is available for undergraduate students mostly. I have seen that there are very, very limited need-based aids available for graduate students, unfortunately. And before getting the admit, there is a separate application process that you have to open, fill out, and apply to in order to be considered for this need-based aid. That process or that application portal is known as the CSS profile. It's paid, it's not free, and there is a per college fee. You're looking at $25 plus $16 per college for submitting your CSS profile. A few other things that you need to be mindful of is when you fill out your CSS profile, it's not directly connected to Common App. CSS profile has its own deadlines. So, for example, let's say that you're applying to Columbia University. Columbia University's deadline may be in December for the Common App, but it may be in January for the CSS profile. So the deadlines can be different. So you need to be aware of all the deadlines. The applications are only connected after you submit it. So that means that after you submit the CSS profile, that is when they will consider your need-based request. And the need-based request only comes in after the fact that you're a good student and they potentially want to give you an offer, which means that, let's say you're a student who has like a 50 or 60% overall high school score, you can, expecting a good need-based aid is secondary to getting an actual offer letter. You have to first get admitted and then the need-based aid comes into picture. Now we'll look at the process of applying to these need-based aids individually as we move on into the series and look at different colleges, but typically that's like in a nutshell. Now after receiving the aid, the need-based aid is renewed each year. This means that every year you have to fill out the CSS profile again. They want to see if your parents' financial situation increased or decreased. Typically, if it more or less stays the same, the aid will also stay the same. It's as simple as that. Lastly, this is not a loan, which means that you don't have to pay it back. Whatever amount you get in the CSS profile as the aid, it's sort of like a scholarship. It doesn't need to be paid back. That's it. You just minus that from the overall tuition fee of that university. Next up, we're going to look at assistantships. Now, assistantships are for my graduate students mostly. And typically these come in the form of a stipend. So you'll receive like a monthly stipend. It can be in the form of like a research assistantship or a teaching assistantships usually. And what exactly you need to do before getting the admit is start reaching out to different departments, different professors, and find out what the college process is in order to apply for these assistantships. I've seen cases where professors interview potential graduate students before they even apply, to see if they're suitable for their lab, and then they go ahead and apply. In other cases, you have to apply first, and then you get these RA or TA positions. So figure that out, email different colleges that you're interested in to find out what their process looks like. After getting the admit, now graduate students can look for teaching assistantship options for undergraduate degrees. This means that as a graduate student, you've already finished some sort of an undergraduate degree, which means that you are eligible to be a teaching assistant for some basic undergraduate courses. It's a great way to earn some money. It definitely pays a little bit more than other on-campus jobs, and it looks great on your resume. Now, as you guys can imagine, this process is extremely long, it's a little complicated, and students typically start 1 year before they actually want to apply. Now, other than these three types of aid and scholarships, assistantships that I spoke about, there are college-specific endowments that are available, like the Tata Scholarship from Cornell is very popular for Indian students. And as we go on in this series, when we cover these individual universities, we will look at these university-specific scholarships and financial aid as well. But in this video, these are the three main types that I'm going to cover because these are the largely known and typically all universities offer these. Now, if you guys are applying for the fall 2024 intake, the Ivy League 101 course is perfect for you. I've covered a step-by-step walkthrough of applying for need-based financial aid and the entire application process separately for undergrad and graduate students. So if you guys are interested in that, the link to enroll is going to be in the description of this video. So next I want to talk about how exactly you can maximize your chances in order to get these different types of scholarships and financial aid. The first thing is to research colleges. Now, I've seen students spend minimal amount of time in understanding what specific college requirements are. Even though the process like the CSS profile is very standard and general, sometimes colleges have their own scholarships and financial aids and different types of things that are specific for them. So spend some time on the college website, on the department website, maybe email them and ask them what are the options available. Maybe for international students, you may be surprised of what you can find. Next, be aware of the deadlines. Like I said, the deadlines may be different for scholarship-based applications, so you have to be aware of those. Colleges are extremely strict when it comes to scholarship-based deadlines for obvious reasons. They want to know how serious students are. So you need to research your colleges and be aware of the deadlines. Be aware of need aware. You need to be aware that not all colleges will just give you need-based financial aid. There is a good set of universities which are need aware. That means that they will somewhat decrease your chances or look at your application a little biased if you ask for aid. I've explained the whole need blind versus need aware in another video, so if you guys are interested in that, you can check that out later. Lastly, for my graduate students, explore funding options 1 to 2 years before actually applying to colleges. This entire process of researching colleges and finding what the scholarships are takes time. So see what's good for you. And lastly, be good and perform good academically as a student. In all of this, the only thing that's going to help you get ahead is if you have a good student profile that comes with strong academics and good extracurriculars. Next, let's look at some common myths. Now, one of the biggest questions that I get asked is, can I apply for the need-based aid after getting admission? The straight answer, without beating around the bush, is no, no, and no. There is a question on Common App which specifically says, do you intend to pursue need-based financial aid? If you click no to this question, you cannot go back and then say yes after you've received your application. You cannot apply for need-based financial aid throughout your degree. If you're doing an undergraduate degree, if you hit no to this question for all 4 years of your undergrad degree, you cannot apply for need-based financial aid. So if you want to apply for need-based aid, you have to click yes to this question. Lastly, I have 99 out of 100 score in my high school. Does this guarantee full aid? Now, there are so many comments filled with, people asking and pasting their entire profile, asking if that guarantees aid, and it really doesn't. Now, here's the thing. Just a 99 or even 100% mark sheet is not what US colleges look for. They look at other things. They look at your passion towards the degree that you've selected, how well you are a member to the community and your society, what do your extracurriculars look like, how are you able to communicate in a creative writing setting, which is your personal essays. All of these together determine whether you get your admit and then whether you get that scholarship. It's a two-step process. It's not just all in one. So this means that multiple things that you do, maybe having a 99 out of 100 can definitely help your chances of getting aid, but it is not guaranteed. And the last question is, for my graduate students, can I change my master's degree later on to a thesis type? Yes, if you typically find a professor who is willing to accept you into their lab, this change can be done. But my only recommendation is to maybe do this in the first 6 months, because in a graduate level degree, you're usually in like a 1 to 2 year course, which is short enough. So if you're like through your midpoint of your degree, it may be a little bit more difficult since you only have 1 year left. How much can you actually achieve during that time? Alright guys, so that wraps up episode number 0. Make sure that you guys are subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss out the specific college-based Road to Success series that's going to drop, for the rest of this year, honestly. And we're bringing back an old tradition, which is asking a random question to see how many of you guys are sticking around till this point in the video. So today's question is, what is your favorite evening snack? Mine personally is Maggie. I'm not gonna lie, Maggie with maybe like blue lays and thumbs up. That's like my go-to evening snack. What's yours? Put this in the comment below. Make sure you subscribe and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. And I couldn't think of like a better way to start our Road to Success series than a double rainbow behind us, covering the entire New York City skyline. This is something I just noticed like after filming the entire video.